Right. Super Live. Sorry, not doing a camera tonight. I just figured I'd do this as I was working on this anyway. And maybe some people want to watch along and see what we're doing. But I'm working a little bit more on our little track today. So I'm just moving my mic a little bit, so I hope that didn't make too much noise. All right. So last Friday we made most of this track. I just added the trees and moved a few more things around. And one of the things that I did this weekend is I just created this little arch, which is let me have a look very quickly. No, that's the pit lane. That's not what I'm after. So yeah, that's a little finish line here. So this is nothing more than a path which just makes a nice little arch there. And then just a circle as a polygon. So if we look at the CG polygon, we see that we draw out a little circle. And that is just mapped over the entire length. I did find out that the UVs aren't continuous around the circle. So it goes from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, which means that I can't make my my texturing UVs slightly larger, which I would like to do. So that might be something that I might enhance at some point in time. The other thing that I did, for those of you who followed my my Twitter announcements on this, and I'll just quickly bring in a mesh instance to show this. And I want to create a sphere, and I want to make that really big, like so. And we're going to move that down a bit. And all of a sudden, you can see these things appear, and that's because I've got a plane here, and I'm projecting an image through this plane onto the underlying surface. Obviously, because this is now way, this is now way too distant from here. I need to move that a bit up to. There we go. So now we can really see that the lighting in this scene is really bad because those are actually white tiles. Did I put something? No, I got the metallic and roughness turned off here, so anyway. So basically the whole reason for doing that is to actually create the finish line here on our road without actually having to change the texture of the road. So we're projecting a texture onto the road, and the same we've done with these starting lines. So that's just a very simple little H thingy, whatever you want to call it, little bracket as a texture, and we're projecting that on the road. And we're just doing that with a shader. I can have a quickly show that shader code. So I'm basically just projecting through the plane that we're rendering. I'm projecting down into our depth texture to see, okay, how far below is whatever is lying underneath, and then I'm adjusting my UV coordinates accordingly. And that you can do some really funky things with that, but you know, this kind of usage, it's a little overkill for what I'm doing here. But it allows me to put the plane slightly above the road and then have the image projected onto the road, which is a nice way to do decals, I guess. It's not as efficient or as effective as actually having decal code in the shader for the original texture. And I think Godot 4 has something for that, but that's not available in Godot 3. And this is a good in-between solution. Hi, Niraj. Sorry, I butchered your name there. And Anthony. Yeah, the curve thing. So indeed, you're the guy who did the whole water effect thingy. I definitely want to take a closer look at that. But obviously, I've got my road here as a curve. So we have a curve here that goes all around the road. But the thing that we're missing, first of all, I hate the UI for being able to move things up and down. That really needs a much better UI where we can lock the axes in which we're moving our control points. But what I really want to be able to do is have control over the banking of our road, and I want to have control over the width of our road. And those are things that are part of that water thing. And I really want to steal that. The same thing with the scatter plug that you mentioned about. I really need to start playing around with that, because the way that I've done the trees right now is simplistic. And the scatter plugin really does a really good job at placing things and using multi-meshes to efficiently render them. Now, obviously, during the stream, we had a really big problem with finding a good mesh to use as a trees. Now, these are... Oh, I'm busy. Sorry, someone tried to come in. These trees, obviously, we had some, we couldn't find some low poly things. So that's the other thing that I did, which is definitely something to for everybody to know about. Is I installed the Sketchfab plugin. So Sketchfab made a plugin for Godot that gives you access to all the things on Sketchfab that you can download. So you have a nice new tab here called Sketchfab. And look at that. It loads up lots and lots of things. So all I did here was search for low poly tree. And I don't want staff picked. I just want all the low poly trees. And it finds all sorts of things. Well, some of them are crap. Some of them are good. And in the end, I found... it downloads them actually into a nice folder called Sketchfab, which is really cool. And I think that they're using the fir tree. So... this little guy here, I'm using this one. Unfortunately, it's been imported a bit too big here, but yeah, it's nice low poly, so that one is really well to use. Now, one of the downsides that I found of this plugin, which I actually have put in as a suggestion for them to add in, is when you find a model, it'll tell you the license information here. It'll tell you who made it. It'll tell you how big it is. And then it says, hey, this is the license. So this is one that is Creative Commons Attribution, which means that you can use it for free. But you have to credit the author. The author does allow commercial use. So again, you can also buy things on Sketchfab. I'm not sure if you can actually buy things through this interface. I think you need to. You can see that I'm logged into my account. I think you do need to buy them on your account. But the thing that I miss is, now that I've downloaded these this fir tree and this other low poly tree, there isn't a file that they create that actually holds that information. So I now have to go and find this fir tree again and hope that I find it. I think it's this one. Could be this one. Again, that's my problem. Is it this one that I got? Could be. Could be that one. I don't remember. So I'm not too happy about that, because I find it very important to give attribution to anybody's assets that I use in my projects. First of all, it's required if if the license is required, but even if the license wouldn't require it, I still like to have a file in my project which exactly tells me where I got all the assets that I'm using. I think it is the Thunder one that I downloaded, because I want to give attribution to the person, the people who made the things that I'm using. So I have not used a Twig Legs inverse kinematics thing yet. I did see the Twitter post come around. I really want to find some time for it, because I have a few things that I could use that for, especially once we're back on VR, because I want to do something with character control on that. But no, unfortunately, I haven't had the time to really look at what it is that he has been doing there, which is a bit of a shame, because it did look very good. All right. Back to my track. So that's all the things that I've done since last Friday. So we've got some trees in there. Now these are a bunch of multi-meshes for which I've written a very simple script that just randomly positions that. So actually the trees are going to be in a different position every time you open the scene, because it does calculate that at startup. That's something the that I probably would like to do differently, but it does change automatically. So if I make the areas bigger, then you'll see that the trees are placed over a larger area, which actually I think I want to keep. I think I'm going to change them all to a bit higher. And then obviously position them so that they don't end up on the track, because I really want to get to a point where when you're driving around, it sort of looks like there's a full forest there. Now, this one does create a gap a little bit, so we might need to add another section there. But we'll need to do a little bit more here in a minute anyway. Oops. For some reason, I always pick the up instead of the move. So yeah, we might end up having to add some more of these multi-meshes things here. But it's just to get a bunch of trees scattered around our area, so that when you're driving around, you don't just look over this never-ending plain. There's something to kind of break your view. And that's all we're trying to do with this. And again, I might eventually make this this even wider, so that we have even more spreading of the trees. But the thing that I want to do today is actually want to quickly create a height map and splat map implementation for our terrain. Because that's the other way that we can break the horizon, is to make sure that this is all elevated. And I want to sort of elevate the center of this, because nothing is flat like this, right? I can accept that my track is flat. When you look at reference pictures of various racetracks, you have racetracks with a lot of elevation, but you also have plenty of racetracks that actually are really nicely laid out on a relatively flat plane, especially these cultivated tracks. I think this is probably like a go-kart track sort of thing. Whilst like a track here, you can see that there's elevation everywhere. But because I don't have elevation in my track on this one, because this really I want to have a flat oval to drive on, I don't want to do that. Okay. There we go. So that's enough for our trees. Now, obviously, once we've got some elevation, we also want to make sure that our trees are not going to end up inside of the ground. That's something that we need to start working on. Hi, Joseph. Thank you. Yeah, for VR, the animating the legs would be pretty cool. As you walk around, or especially if you have something multiplayer where you can see other players walking. But especially when you also have your hands, right? Right now, your hands are these floaty things. You don't see your arms. You don't see your elbows. So that's something that I think Innoverse IK would be pretty useful for. I'll quickly show that scatter script, because it's really simple. And I think I built the earlier version at the end of my stream last Friday. So all that I've done here is define all the export variables. I've got a variable here is dirty, which is basically saying, well, if anything changes, then I want to re-render it. But of course, if I change 5 things, I don't want to place everything 5 times. I want to do that one time. So in this case, because I'm using something called call deferred, that means that we're going to actually call this method later on once we've finished. And if we change a bunch of things, we actually get this call scheduled 5 times. But then the first time it runs, it will set dirty to false. And the other 4 times that it runs, it will actually skip this logic. It'll say, hey, we're no longer dirty. There's no reason to reapply this. So that's a nice way that if you have a whole bunch of things that you have control over and that you might want to be changing in scripts or in your initialization, that it still only updates everything 1 time instead of doing that multiple times. So because of the way that the tree is set up, you have a mesh for the trunk and you have a mesh for all the leaves. This is why this tree is much more efficient than the one that we were using on Friday. On Friday, every leaf was a mesh or an object or part of the mesh. And in this case, the leaves are actually whole branches, just squares or rectangles with a texture of a branch on it. And that means that you have a very low poly, high detailed tree because, you know, we have, let's see if I can zoom in on some. So you can see that there's lots of things, but you can see that these are actually they're just textures, right? And, you know, really up close, it does break the effect. But a little far away, these look like really detailed trees. So that is the trick that we're using here, and that's why we can get away with rendering quite a bit. Now, obviously, I am using separate multi-meshes because I do want the culling to cull out anything that's behind us, because else we're still rendering way more than I like to render. This is a pretty fast GPU, so we've got plenty of cycles to spare. But I haven't tried any of this on lower-end hardware, so I've got no idea how much the performance is affected if you have you know, a less capable GPU. And for that, you know, we might need to have a lower detailed tree at some point in time to make sure it runs properly there as well. Note, by the way, that the automatic LOD that's been added to Godot 4, which I'm really looking forward to playing with, isn't going to help you with these trees. These trees are already as optimized as they can be. The automatic LOD system won't be able to do much with these. The only way you can really get this tree in lower detail, if you want to render trees that are far away at lower detail, is to do something like, what's the technique called? Imposters, which I actually want to spend some time on at some point in time as well. I've already been experimenting with imposters. There's a really cool imposter library for Godot that I actually want to play around with a little bit. But yeah, imposters is really the way to go if you want to render a whole forest and you want to make sure that the trees that are further away are really cheap to render and still look good. Let's have a look at the chat because it's really getting busy. Hiya Ben, hiya Lumberjack. Hi, AC. Oh yeah, so we were going to look at that script. Hang on for a sec. Yeah, Octahedral Imposters. They are, yeah. So imposters and billboarding are, billboarding is the simpler version of imposters. With imposters, what you do is that you take something like a tree and you render the tree, or you render the tree to a texture from multiple sides. So from you know, this side, and then a little bit there and a little bit there. So let's say from 8 sides, and then you do it from slightly above towards it, so that depending on what angle you're looking at the tree from, you're basically seeing a different billboard. And that means that the illusion is that you actually still have a fully fledged rendered 3D object while you're actually just looking at a billboard, but the texture changes depending on what angle you're looking at. So it's a pretty cool technique. Was it Wojciech who made the imposter one? That could be. I remember that one of the regulars on the Facebook Godot website built it. Yeah, but it was a little while ago since I last looked at it, but I was very impressed with it, and I really need to play around with that some more. So we were looking at that script. So just to finish the script off, so this gets run once in a while, and all we're doing is we're looping through the number of trees that we want, and then just, this is just making sure that the trees are upright. For some reason, the tree model actually makes the tree lie down, so I've got this setting, see that here? Yeah, I've got the setting where we can say how much we got it rotated. So normally, by default, it was actually coming up like that. Some sort of calamity happened there. So I had to make sure that we could rotate them all. Now that obviously is something that I only want to do once, so I calculate that only one time, and then we apply that there. But you can also see that I am rotating around the up vector by a random number, and that's basically to make sure that every tree we're looking at that from a different angle. So the trees aren't all orientated the same way; they're actually all rotated at random variance. Then we simply pick a random place within our area that we got. I haven't got anything in here to make sure that trees don't end up standing too close to each other for something like this, because we will never drive near the trees. We'll always be on the track. We can't leave the track. We don't really have to worry about two trees accidentally being, you know, overlapping, because we're never going to get close enough to them to really notice. And the last thing that I'm doing is I'm actually randomizing a scale so that the trees aren't all the same size. So every tree is, some are small, some are, here's a larger one. And here you can see, by the way, here's an example of, the trees being too close to each other. So there's 2 trees here. But again, once you're driving from the track, the trees are far enough away, we won't even notice it. So yeah, the scatter plugin. Which one is that again? Is that Silence one? No, Hungry Proton ones. That's the one that I'm looking for. So Hungry Proton made this plugin called the Scatter plugin, and this is absolutely cool. I am not using this, but I probably will. I'm probably going to replace my dinky little implementation that I have here with what he's done here, because here you have a plugin that allows you to build a whole shape, and then it will fill that shape with meshes. He now has a modifier stack here so that you can do more sort of changes to it. Yeah, it's a really cool plugin that allows you to place a whole lot of objects within a given area and have control over the area instead of having to plant every tree manually. And you can use this for trees, you can use this for vegetation, you can use this to scatter rocks around a scene. I don't know how well he's done things around using either normal mesh instances and multi-meshes, because I haven't really looked at what he's doing internally. I imagine that there is some sort of BSD logic going on that you can break up, because this will be way too many trees to always render at once. Well, it'll work in this case, but I think once you really start getting a large forest that you actually want to be able to walk through, that might get a little bit tricky. But yeah, it's a really cool plugin. So if you need something like that, know that it exists. Hungry Proton. It's a really, really cool plugin. Alrighty, so yeah, there are so many cool plugins, and I don't know if you can actually find this one here. You might be able to. No, that's Xylance one. I haven't actually looked at Xylance one, because I know that Xylance tools for terrain are really, really cool. So obviously, again, I could be using Xylance tool for my terrain, but because I want to do something really simple, we're just going to build it ourselves right now. Plus, it is a good thing. It's a good thing to actually have on a stream, to have recorded, because I know that there's a lot of people who want to know how to do this sort of stuff. So let's go and close a whole bunch of things that we don't care about right now, and we're going to go way up here. So our ground currently is a static body with a shape which is currently a plane shape. We're going to be changing that to a height map shape soon enough, but not yet, because I first need to get to height map. I'm not quite sure if I actually will use the height maps thing, because we're not really going to go off-roading, but we might. We'll have a look at that. But the most important one is, of course, our mesh instance. So we have this really big area here, this really big plane, and right now that is being drawn with a very simple before we look at the shader, so this is quite big, 2 by 2 kilometers. And I've subdivided it by 512. I'm actually going to make that a bit bigger. I actually don't mind this being full size. I don't really care about that too much. So, and I think I actually need to make this one smaller. So I actually need to make that 47. Because we have our outer edge to keep in mind as well. Now, I think if it's this big, I wonder if Godot really likes building something that big. We might be stressing it out a little bit, so I might bring it back to it being a bit smaller. You know what? I actually have a better idea, because I think these ones are going to get a bit too big to generate. So we might just actually divide them into multiple multiple meshes. I think that's probably going to be a better idea, because this is going to... Oh, that's all the downloads. Yeah, this is going to go a bit crazy. I can probably... No, let's let that run through. The logic for actually creating these meshes isn't that efficient. There we go. So finally did it. But I'm going to bring that back. I'm actually going to bring it back to 511. I'm going to bring this back to 511. And again, I'm doing that because subdividing by 511 gives us actually a 512 vertices per side. So I'm going to make these 512 by 512, so we now have just one ground section. But what we're simply going to do is call that ground 01. We're going to create a second one. Now that's going to be reusing the same mesh and the same shader, which is going to make our life a bit easier. And I'm just going to drag that out here. Now we could go all fancy and yeah, we could make it all fancy and do some LOD stuff here, but I think that's overkill. I really wish that I could zoom out a bit further. That's the downside of using these really big slabs. Anyway, let's create another one. And we're going to move that this way. I'm actually going to look at my display and move it exactly 512. There we go. Let's go move this back. So at the bottom here, if you notice at the bottom, it's gone now because we stopped dragging. But I could see exactly how much I was dragging stuff. This navigation is really not very suitable for what we're doing here, but boom. So again, exactly 512. There we go. Boom. Now, the advantage of doing it this way is also that when we're racing around our track, any of these planes that are going to be behind the camera or off camera aren't actually going to be rendered, which is kind of important for something like this. The other thing, which is, I guess, okay enough, is that I don't really think that it matters to have it further away. I think this is actually big enough for what I want to do, because I want to elevate everything around the edge here. Or do I want to make it... I might actually want to make sure that we've got exactly the right size. So I'm actually going to offset this. We're going to move this 256 this way. Come on. There we go. All right. And the reason why I want to do that is yeah, so I'm going to go one row on this side. Or no, I actually want this to be nicely in the middle like this. So let's do that. I'll do it. So I made that exactly 256 wide, which is kind of hilarious. So that's now nicely on the center line, but I also want to do it like this and make this go into the center line. There we go. And the reason I'm doing that seems maybe a little over the top. Oh, is that... Let's see. Each one up. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I already created the 7th. Okay. So we had a nice overlap there. So that one can go out here. I really wish that I could get this to be higher. Okay, so we got 2 that way and 2 this way. Which means that we can now also go and move that over here. Because I do want that 2 kilometers by 2 kilometer set. So 2, we can do 3, 4, 5. Nope. There we go. So now I've got one whole row selected. Duplicate that and move it like this. Again, exactly 512. Go down. Oh, this is hard putting exactly on the right spot. Ah, dang it. I accidentally hit my my right mouse button that cancels the action. I need a mouse that's more precise than this. All right, and then this one, I'm just gonna move like so, and then I'm actually the reason why I can place this so precise is because I've got my snap to grid on, and my grid is right now set to 1 meter, so that's why I can do that. All right, so now we have our plane back just the way that it was before, but now it's broken up into 16 segments, and I don't really care about the names. I don't care about the order. We're going to give them all the same properties. Now, luckily, we are using one material here. So all these things have the same material, which means that we can start using the material to make stuff work. Now, the other thing which is already very important is that our UV is currently already based on our vertex, on our position. So, so our UV lookups in our textures are already the way that we want them to be, which is really neat, handy. All right, now this is a shader that I wrote a little while ago, and all that this does is use the world coordinates of our vertices for our UVs, but then it will look at which tile in our UV we are actually rendering, and then it will rotate those UVs of that tile by a random amount that it looks up in a noise texture. And the result is, if we go, just go here, the result is that instead of this being a repetitive pattern, you can see that they all look slightly different. So if we go back here, and instead of doing this, I'm just going to override that and just say terrain UV is UV. So I'm going back to my original UV. You'll see that we have this this repetitive pattern of the tiling of our images. Actually, I can use my checkerboard. So that's for fun, just load in our checkerboard, because I created a checkerboard pattern the other day. Where are we? Assets, pictures. So here you can see, again, if we so if we take that logic out, we can see that that checkerboard is nicely repeated, but with that randomized rotation, you see that every of these tiles is slightly rotated differently from the other tile. And that is breaking that monotone up. Now, this is something that Andrew Price did a really nice video on, so total credit to him for the idea. He's gone a lot further with actually putting some randomization in in the edges so that they're not nicely straight edges, which means that if you have a texture that is where the pattern is easier to recognize, you don't suddenly see the seams where everything has been rotated. But yeah, it's a nice little trick that we can do here. I'm gonna have to reassign our textures in a minute anyway, so I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm using this shader in a couple of places, and I don't want to change the shader as it is. Instead, we're going to go and duplicate our shader, and we're going to call this our terrain shader. And then our terrain texture trez, that's the one that we're using here. That one can now go, and we can go and use our terrain shader over here. So we can see that everything still works. Oh, it's actually still retained the things. I was expecting that to change normally whenever you change your shader, everything resets. All right. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to actually add in a height map. Yeah, that's we use it. So what is it? Shift F. So if you do Shift F, oh. Wow, what did it do? Oh, see, it did reset the shader. Oh no, that's because I actually accidentally put an F in my shader code. That's not gonna work. So yeah, if you do Shift F, now your mouse looks around, and then AWSD allows you to fly. Unfortunately, our world is a little on the big side, so flying is a bit, yeah, it is what it is. Okie doke. And Shift F gets us out of there again. So let's go back to our little shader. Let's go back to our ground material. I actually want to go and put our normal material in again because this looks horrible. Assets, and I think this one came from textures.com. Yeah, I think it's this one that we're using. There we go. And our nice texture is back. Cool. All right, now I'm not going to do a whole painter and stuff in Godot. We're going to make our lives much easier. We're just going to go in Krita. Now I wonder if we can load in monochrome images into Godot. Let's try that first. I think we should be able to. So we're going to go create a new file, and this one is going to be 2048 by 2048. There we go. And we want to make that grayscale, but I actually don't want an alpha. Can I take the alpha out? I actually want that to be 16-bit integer. Let's see if Godot can load that. That will be quite interesting to see. And I want this thing to be black. Black. There we go. And now I'm going to go back to white, just so that we can test it out. And I want to brush. Now, I am not the greatest user of Krita. That's too much. I want something that's nice and maybe like an ink one? No. I want something that has got smooth edges. Probably like a paint one. So look. No, that's still... no, that's not what I had in mind. So maybe it is digital. Come on, what's one that has... ah, scroll wheel makes it faster, okay. I gotta keep that in mind for next time. Oh, that looks pretty funky. Not what I want. Maybe just, yeah, I think that'll do. Okay, so I'm just going to go and just be crazy like this. Because I just want something to test it out with. We're going to do nicer things later on. Then we're going to go say save. Now I want to go into my actual test scene. And I'm going to call that heightmap.png. There we go. which actually means that our material here shouldn't actually be our general material. It should probably end up being a material specific to. Let's actually make that happen. So let's also duplicate this and say, I'm just going to call that terrain trace. That's fine. Now we're going to move this guy. Move to scenes, tracks, tests. Going to go over here. There we go. Perfect, which now means that instead of using this guy, I now want to say load scenes, tracks, test, terrain. There we go. Copy. And we're going to paste them into all of these. Hold on. I am going to paste that over here. And now I'm going to clear it over here. And now we're going to clear all these as well. Clear, clear, clear. There we go. And now it's actually the mesh on each one of these that has the same material. And that is perfect. I need to get some more water in a minute. All right. So that is now using our terrain trash, which is in our test, so that we have a material that's unique to our test scene. It's using our general terrain shader, because that is a resource that I do want to share. And now we need to start implementing some height map logic. Uniform sampler 2D height map and black. There we go. Because black is going to be 0. The whiter it goes, the higher it will go. So now we can go and load in the texture that we just created and see if, yeah, Godot seems to be pretty happy about that. So there we go. We got our height map. Now, because this is a black and white image, doesn't matter whether we use our RG or B channel, it's a 16-bit image, so we should have a nice amount of precision. So black is going to be 0, white is going to be 1. So we do want to have a height scale value, and let's default that to 10. It might be way too big. We will see. All right. So I want to do our UV calculation before we get our vertex. That also means that I want to have a uniform height UV offset. Because the center of our world, where is our center of our world right now? The center of our world right now is over here. Okay, we're gonna have to gamble a little bit with that because we would actually like that to be exactly there. I'm wondering if I should move my whole scene a bit to the left. Or maybe I should keep our height map centered nicely. I think that'll probably make our life a lot easier. Probably just making our life a little bit harder than we should. So I'm actually going to make sure that the center here is exactly there. So subtracting half means that our 0,0 in our texture map is going to be over there, and our 1,1 is in a minute going to be on the other side. There we go. Let's go back to our material. And that means that we also need to have a UV scale. And we're again going to make that as a vec. Here we need to divide by 2. Let's also make our lives easier. So we're not going to make that UV scale. That should not be. We're going to make that UV size just to make it clear that we're going to divide over there. Why is that not a vec2 but a float? I don't know. There we go. There we go. All right. So now we're first going to look up. And it is going to be a vec4. We're going to look up our height map. And we're going to add a height UV, which we haven't calculated yet. So vec2 height UV is going to be UV divided by height UV size plus height UV offset. There we go. And now we can simply say vertex dot y is height scale times height val dot r. All right. Now I had expected that to be a little bit more exciting than nothing happening. So, oh, we've already got our terrain scale set in here. Okay. All right. So we're going to make our lives a little easier and say base UV. And we're going to take all this. Let's say base UV. There we go. And now we're going to use our base UV as input for our height. There we go. All right, it's a bit hard to see, but it actually has some height. So let's make that a bit higher so that we can actually see that it is working. Now we have a steep hill here where we have our white color. Obviously, not completely what we want yet. All right. So let's go and make that a function. Let's say float height. Oh. Hats. Back to hats. Copy this. Oops. And instead, we're going to return what we calculate here. Okay. Perfect. Which means that I can plop that into here. Okay, see, that still works. That still works. Perfect. All right. And the reason I'm doing that is because I need to recalculate our tangent and our normals. Now, I always forget which one's which, whether tangent is horizontal or vertical. So I might get this the wrong way around the first time around. We will see. Okay. So here we're going to make two vectors. -1 height base UV minus vec2. There we go. Okay, there's a tangent. Normalize. This is not object orientation, mouse. Let's do it like this. Alright. Now we're binormal. And again, I might have these. I might have the tangent and binormal switched around, and I might have the fact that I actually need to subtract them the other direction. One. But we will find out soon enough. Normal is cross tangents binormal and then normalize. Come on. There we go. All right. Oh, that's definitely the wrong way around. Let's flip these around. All right. Where's the sun? All right. By some miracle, it does look like we are shining our sun in the right direction. Yeah. Okay. However, one of the things that we did wrong here, because I've changed everything. No, cast shadow is off. Okay. So is that just because that must be my normal map? Putting some bumps in there. Not sure about that. It's possible. I'm just wondering about these white lines, or these bright lines that we have over there. But that could just be... Let's go and turn this into wireframe. Let's turn the environment off for a sec. And then wireframe. Ooh. Count me somewhat surprised. Let's go back to our material. Let's make this a little less overdone. Well, it's kind of following the contours of it. Could that have to do with the fact that we do our rotation? In which case, we probably need to rotate our tangent and bitangent as well. I think that actually makes sense. Let's actually see if that's true. Let's take this out. No, that doesn't seem to have an effect on... It does look like it steps a little bit. I think that might be it. See how some of it is straight? I think it's because when we have colors that are too equal side by side, so we need to smooth that a bit, I think. Let's see about our height map, and let's see our import settings for that. No, I do not want that to be a height map or a normal map. I do want it to be filtered. I don't want that to have mid maps. Let's see if that makes it somewhat better. I'm not sure about this. I don't know. Well, exactly. That's what I'm wondering about is whether, because I've made the height map itself is now 2048 by 2048, and that's the reason why I've got a grid of 4 by 4 of our, what you call them? Of our grids. So you would, it's supposed to be nicely aligned, but with filter on it, it should smooth step any in-between ones anyway. So I'm not sure about that. Obviously, one thing that we could test just to see if it makes it better is just to resize this to half. So let's make that 1024 by 1024. Okay, there we go. I'm going to save that. So, yep, overwrite the file. That should be re-imported. All right, that gives us bigger flats. Is that just a precision because this is a 16-bit image? And it doesn't smooth step in between? That would be a bit sad. Okay. Hold on. Let's create a new image. That size. Let's actually, for fun, just make that an 8-bit one. Is that what I want? That doesn't make any sense. 25 should give us much more than enough in between steps. We're missing something else. Easy. That should be minus as well. Oh, that's our shadow map, I guess. Come on, turn. Hold on. Something weird's going on. Oh, because I'm in wireframe. Like, why does it look so weird? Here we go. And let's put our environment back on. Okay. All right, let's just go and do something that's a little bit easier to do. Actually, one of the things that I want to do, I want to make that back to there. That's good. Round this a little bit nicer. Oh. And again, it might be because okay, oops, that's way too small. So the middle should be there. So we should be, our track should be, center of our track should be somewhat like this. That did not re-import. Did it? Okay. File. Save. That should update our height map. Oh, now it's just re-importing. There we go. Okay, that's on the wrong side. So the middle of our track should be somewhat over there, which now means that we can go black. And again, one of our problems that we obviously have oh, that's way too far. Here we can see that. Yeah, that's actually kind of cool. That's kind of what we want. I think because we made this so high and such a steep slope, that is why it is not behaving nicely. So we really need a brush that gives us a much smoother transition. Now, I want to get our, whoops. I want to get the center point of our track a bit better. There we go. And now black. And one of the things that we could do. There we go. So let's save this. But now what I'm going to do is save as. And we're actually going to save it as a Krita file. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're just going to do that. Yes. Okay, the reason why I'm doing that. All right, that's done nicely in the middle. We're going to go in our top view. Wait, I don't want to have that selected. There we go. Why can I not go further up? I just want to go further up. Why is that not allowed? It's so annoying. Because of this. Oops. What? 9.6. Let's see if that allows us to go almost far enough. A little bit more. I don't really care actually about that nicely being a factor of 2. All I care about is that I want to be able to zoom out. Because now we have our track there. And now I can go into here. And I can say, go and make me a nice screenshot of that. There we go. Boom. Copy. Go back in Krita. Paste that. Doesn't matter. Needs to be the other way around. You go off. All right. All right. There we go. All right, let's go. And move it so that that's nicely there. And oops. There we go. We're never going to get this exactly right, but that doesn't really matter. No. Really? What did I do? No, that was move. I rotated my canvas. Let's see. View. Canvas. Reset rotation. Thank you. All right, let's redo this. Like I said, I am not the most experienced Krita user. Far from. Okay. All right, that's good enough, I think. Doesn't have to be perfect. Hit it again. Rotation, thank you. I'll learn Krita's things at some point. But now we have... Okay. Now we have this as a bottom layer. So we know where our track is. Why did that move? Why in heaven's name did that move? The canvas is still fine, because I've only been working on that layer. Oh well, we'll just redo our layer. That's okay. So the reason I keep rotating my canvas is because I keep using Godot's keyboard combinations. All right, let's just go and get a pen, something really big. I do need to go and select that pen here. Big, let's go to black, and let's just start over. There we go. And let's go and move our opacity a bit down so that we can actually see what we're doing. And let's go and create, no, that's not the right brush. This one. So can I change the brush? Oh. Yeah, I could use the vertex painting plugin as well for this. Absolutely. Hey, David. 8-bit and 16-bit height maps. 16-bit just has more precision. So an 8-bit, you only have 256 levels that you can play with. And obviously 16-bit means that you have a precision of, what is it? 65,556 or something like that. Always forget that one. And Ben, yes, you can duplicate multiple meshes. Absolutely. Well, you know, this is the hard and difficult way to create height maps. Why is that still showing a map, I wonder? And why am I not painting? Okay. That's my original layer. Why is this disabled? Oh, okay. So why can't I paint on this? Okay, what if I just start with a new layer? So remove this layer. Boom. All right. New layer. Oh, come on. New layer. There we go. There we go. Height map. Okay. So let's start with black. Fill black. There we go. Okay, what did I do? Opacity is that. Yeah. I wonder, am I using this as a mask or something? I'm just going to lock that so that we can't change anything there. But I still can't draw. Why can I not draw on my layer? I don't get this. Okay. All right. I don't know what I've been doing wrong here. I don't get it. I'm just starting over. Sometimes the best thing that we can do. Create a new layer, thank you. That's going to be height map. There we go. Boom. And in this layer, I'm going to go paste this image. Wrap. There we go. Go hide that one. Right. Okay. I want to see what happens if I go and modify it like this. There we go. Again, I just want to use that as a guide. There we go. With my paintbrush. Can I do it now? Now it works. I have no idea what we just had as a problem. But let's just create something like this in the background. There we go. Again, I just want to get the... Oops. Oh, that's a little bit too much. Can I make that a bigger spray, I wonder? That's something that I want to know. Do I have settings on the brush itself? Tool options. Here we go. Here we go. Now we have a much smoother edge. That's what I wanted. And that will hopefully create a better gradient. Again, this is just to create a bit more of a hill in the back. And we're going to go back to black. Want that to sort of sink away. There we go. Bigger. There we go. All right. So if now change the opacity back to this. Oh, I want to create something in the middle of the track first. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I want to overwrite that. Very good. Now I want to go do this, and I want to say export as a PNG. There we go. Yes. And now we're going to go back in here and see what it makes of it. So, there we go. Now we have a bit of a hill in the middle here. I wonder if we can... something like a smooth tool. No. Again, I am not a master of Krita by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, well, the thing that I find important right now is that we have our basics working. We have a nice little hill just in the middle of here. So yeah, I would like to smooth this out somehow. But it breaks up our terrain a little bit. I do think that I want this to be much closer to our tree line. So again, we go and do a bit more like this. Stop using, so we can really see that this just hasn't got a smooth transition with that brush. So I think what we're seeing with that waviness. Hi, is this Alex? Oh, I've got the face cam turned off for a bit because I'm just doing this really quickly and I haven't set up my green screen and everything like that. So I'm just doing a bit of an ad hoc stream at the moment. And I just didn't feel like putting that on just yet. I'll do that again on Fridays, as per normal. No. Am I using... Oh, let's reset this again. No. Am I using a different tool? I don't know. Oh, no, that was from the last time. Okay. Yeah, I want something that's much smoother as a brush. So what really is a good brush that has a nice smooth edge to it? Definitely not that. No. No. Has to be one of the digital ones. What's this? Oh, I can't even. So yeah, I definitely think it's. I want it to be a bit closer to that tree line. Because again, once we're in the car, we can't look over these hills. These hills are too high for the car. But I need to find a way to make this way smoother. Unless I keep it like this. So you can see that we do have nice edges there. But how can I color dodge this? Is that like one of the FX ones? So this is a blur. Ah, perfect. That's what we want. I really want to just blur these edges. Smooth them out. Let's see if we can do that a bit with this one as well. There's something like a color dodge here. Just dodge. Let's make some of it brighter. Just lighten. Just dodge. No, definitely don't want that. No, no. Definitely want to experiment some more with just blurring it out. Oh. Have to be careful not to get too close to the edges. Alright. Alright. Let's save that. And then go export it out as our height map. Yes. Alright. So that's become a bit too big now. That's not good. But we really can see that there's a lot of stepping here, which I'm not too happy about. And maybe that is a precision issue. I'm not sure. Okay, we better go and unbury our track. Okay. I wonder if this one is... Yeah, that is nicely in there. So let's see if that's true. So we're going to go black. We're going to go make this smaller. I'll make absolutely sure we don't have anything too close to our track. Okay, now I'm very interested to see whether that is moving it away from the right spots. Sports, save, okay. All right, that was good. Now there is a little bit of height here, so we need to make absolutely sure that's black enough. But yeah, I do have a feeling that you could probably just lower the resolution quite a bit to sort of get rid of that. Okay, let's make sure this is absolutely black. That didn't re-import, did it? Why is it still not gone? Let's actually make that with one of these. Oops, that was too close. So I'm painting absolute black now. Okay. So there we go. So one of the things that we could do to make this a little bit less rocky like that is actually say, well, we're not going to subdivide it this much. We're just going to subdivide it this much. Okay. That is really surprising. Okay, let's play around a little bit more with the sun, see if my conclusion is actually correct. Okay, I want to go. Take that out, take that out. As far as I can see, that looks all right. I get it. All right. Okay. Well, I guess one of the ways to make it smoother is to do this. Yep. Oops. Got the equal sign. There we go. So we get our our 4 points. But now instead of doing this, We're just going to do y1 plus y2 plus y3. Oops. y3 plus y4. Divided by 4. Well, that's not making it much smoother. I still like actually taking those averages of the 4 nearest points. So I think we need to look into our original image here. And you can really see. Well, one thing that we could do is a whole blur over it, I guess. Don't really have settings on this thing. But I think it's just that it's not smooth enough. And that's just causing these little bumps in there. That is what it is. I need to play around with Blender a bit more, I think. Sort of figure out how to smooth it out. Anyway, we do have the beginnings of our height map and our code for a height map. And hopefully that means that... Oh, I don't have my controller handy. All right, let's just put it back in. Come on. There we go. Well, that's the thing, right? That's why I'm calculating the binormal and the tangent. That is adjusting for the gradients in the map. But I think it's purely just the stepping of the colors in the source image. It's not... The color gradient isn't smooth enough for what I'm trying to do. And I might need to eventually look into something that works a bit better for that. But the thing that I really wanted to accomplish with this was just to have a little bit of, something that gets in the way of, what we can see, so that we don't see the edge of the world. And we've got some things there. Alrighty. Cool. Now, obviously, we don't have the height map fixed yet, so we can drive straight through. And that's something I'm not going to worry about too much right now. Now, we could take our image and convert it to something that the height map or the physics engine works with. But I think that eventually I will have invisible walls around there, or I might actually have a real wall just around this that the car won't be able to get through. Just like we have a wall on the outside of the track. Because it really doesn't make sense that we can drive there. But what I do want to do is I actually want to start playing around with different textures. So right now everything is our little grass rock texture. But I actually want to have like sandbanks over here. So we're going to do that with a splat map. And with a splat map, we're actually going to use another map to do to mix different textures together to get our final coloration. And we're actually going to be using what we're doing here to build our splat map as well. It's really annoying going between two applications that have completely different controls. So I'm going to hide that, and we're going to use our original map again, because that will allow us to see where our areas are. We're going to create a new layer. But I actually want to create a group for this. Can I add this to a group? Group. Quick group. There we go. All right, so this is going to be our splat map. All right. But that actually needs to be a color layer. Okay. So in here, we already have a problem in what we're doing. All right, can I change that after the fact, or do we just make an... I'm actually just going to make a new image for that. So we've got our original track here. We've got our height map over here. So this is our height map prod. That's fine. Oh, why have I got two of them open? That's interesting. Oh, we have that one. So save. Okay. I'm actually going to go and save this as an image, but just export it and say oval. That's fine. And now we're going to create a new image, same size, but I need this to be RGB. And that's just going to be a normal 8-bit RGB channel. Create. Boom. Perfect. Open. Why does it open on that? I don't know. Tutorials, demo, scenes, tracks, test track, oval. And I'm going to do that so I can just copy that and put that in here. Boom. All right. So let's go and save this as our splat map. There we go. I want to go and put that the other way around. Come on. I want you above. There we go. Sweet. Actually, no, we're going to delete this guy. Move. There we go. And I'm just going to add a layer. And this is going to be color or texture 1. Okay, now, how do I set... Nope, that wasn't what I had in mind. Here we go. That locks a whole layer. That's not what I want. Okay, how do I say that I only want to do one color in this layer? No. Okay. Those are just display styles. That's not what I want. Oh, what's this? Properties. Ah, here we go. Perfect. All right. Let's see. Really? Why am I not allowed to draw in here now? Ah, because I've got the wrong... Ah. All right, let's try this again. And I just want to go white. And that now draws red. Perfect. All right. We're going to go in here. A little bit more. And what I'm now going to do... I'm going to paint slightly over my road. That's fine. There we go. All right. Cool. Sweet. Now, even though I've got that normal and opacity 100, it's still showing my underneath layer. Why? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm not quite sure why it's mixing it, but this is what I wanted. So the idea is that I'll actually add the other ones in as well, just as an idea. So we're going to go and lock this layer. Let me have a look. No, layer properties. So that one's going to be locked to green. So if I draw in here, okay, we got that. Oh, If I draw in here, I get green. Perfect. And properties. And then if I draw in here, I get blue. There you go. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using those 3 channels as channels where we're going to pick up another color. And then we're going to mix the remainder in for our ground color. And that way we can get some nice blending of the different textures. Now we're going to start with just texture 1, which is why I only want the red. And obviously, you know, we can still put that one in just to see where we are. It's kind of interesting that it mixes those. I wasn't expecting it to do that, but I don't really matter. I don't really care. So let's go and export this guy and say that's going to be splatmap.png. Save. Okay. So our terrain texture and our terrain normal map is going to be our default color, which is cool. All right. So let's go and have a look at how we're going to implement that in our shader code. There we go. Starting with nominating our... let's see. Splat map. There we go. So we're going to bring our splat map in. Where are you? There we go. Load. Let's look. That's just here. Splat map. Dunk. There we go. And now we're going to go and mix colors using our splat map. So in this case, we actually want to have our base UV to be UV. UV is base UV. And then UV2 is going to be our terrain UV. That means that I'm going to change that to be our rotated UV, which is cool. All right. All right. I just want to get this in a different order. Actually, I'm going to call that normal map. I'm going to call this Albedo. I'm not doing anything with the alpha, am I? No, I'm not. So let's make that a vec3. Kind of funny that this is case sensitive, so we can reuse the names. Let's have a look at what's going. on in chat. Sorry, I'm not really paying too much attention to chat at the moment. Yeah, you're right, David. I need to just learn to use Krita properly and know how to make things editive. Hi, Eduardo. Thank you for joining. I'm Rod. How you going? All right. So I might end up using all 4 levels of the splat map just to show how it all works. But we're going to start with our first one. So we're going to leave our noise the way that it is. That's all fine. But we're going to first get our splat map values here. So that's going to become... I'm not going to use the alpha on the splat map. I could, but I'm not. So let's see. That's now going to be texture, splat map, comma. Actually, I do want that to be 4. But we're going to override the alpha here. All right. So, that just needs to be UV. Because we put our UV that we're using for, oh, wait, hold on. And this one, obviously I do want to do like so. Because we want to use the same input for our height map as for our splat map. But I'm going to go and use the UVs there. So why doesn't it like my splat map? It's over there. Because I'm not allowed to reuse that. So, like I said, we're not using our alpha. Instead, our alpha is actually going to become the value that we're going to use for our ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to calculate this as map.r plus map.g plus map.rgb. There we go. Now, if any of these is 1, or if they add up to more than 1, then obviously this becomes negative, which we don't want. So we're going to clamp this between 0 and 1. And now we're going to normalize this. Boom. All right. So let's say that red is half, 0.5. That means that now A becomes 0.5 as well. The other 2 are 0. That adds up to 1. Normalize isn't going to be doing a thing. But let's say that I make map red 1 and map green 1 because I want to mix both my texture 1 and my texture 2 colors. Now it adds up to 2, which I don't want. The normalize of map will make sure that those are equalized. So this makes sure that R plus G plus B plus alpha always equals 1. Now, if none of these are set, that means we're going to use a terrain color. But if any of these other ones are set, we're going to start mixing that in. So now we can actually start doing something really funky here. Because, well, actually for the albedo, we can just add then the way that we want. So I can just do this times map A. But my normal map, I can also do times A because I just want that influence in here. I want to get the average between them. Which does mean that I need to re-normalize my normal map value. And hopefully that will work and not screw everything completely up. All right. That should already mean that over here, where our sand is going to be, we now see that the whole part has become black because that's where our red color is there. Now, I don't know if my red actually becomes red enough, but it should be. So I'm still getting... Oh, those are still the normals from, obviously, our curve of our hill itself, which is fine. Although I want to make sure that we take that out. I don't want that hill to become that color. We can also see that we're actually not touching our road. So our texture here is actually, our road is slightly off center, which is fine. But yeah, that means that we can go and make sure that this goes slightly higher. There we go. Slightly more like this. And if it gets slightly on the other side of the road, I'm happy enough with that. And now with black. No, actually, that's going to be with my eraser. Oh, that takes out the gradient. That's not what I want. Soft eraser? That's better. There we go. Let's bring that back. Export. Splat map. Yes. Excuse me. And that moves it somewhat more up. Perfect. All right. Let's bring our next texture in. So we're going to go and add I'm actually going to call that texture 1 and normal map 1. Oops. There we go. I'm going to bring those two in. And that means that we're now going to say over here, albedo plus is texture dot texture 1 terrain UV dot RGB, and we're gonna multiply that by R. And a normal map is going to be normal map 1, and we're also going to do that times that. Now, we don't have those set yet, so that's our next step. Load up a texture, assets. Nope, not from there. Here we go. So, yeah, that one looks good. And then the same with that one. We're going to add a normal map in. So, here we go. We've got sand nicely painted over there. Now, it's still too far into this bit, which is fine. We're going to deal with that in a bit. So let's go and add in texture 2 and texture 3 so that we have those available. That's going to become 3. It's going to become 2. And obviously, if we don't need the lookups, it's still going to do the lookups. I could do something here, like if map.r bigger than 0, only then do this addition. But I don't think the lookup is actually going to be RG. There we go. The lookup is going to be that much more expensive because of the way that this works. I think it's actually cheaper to just add in and multiply with 0 than skip the lookup itself. Let's go and have a look if we've got some nice things that we can use here. And don't want concrete, don't want fence. Might want to do some rocks. I want to do a bit of dirt or something. Not really that I'm thinking of either. Forest. No, it's not really what I'm looking for. Let's do coarse. Mind you, this is where it actually becomes really important that we have a much more accurate track so that we can actually paint this a bit better. I actually do want those pebbles. Where's the pebbles? Something like this. Rock 22. Oh, I don't have those open anymore. Assets, CC. So this is going to become new folder rocks 022. There we go. All right. Color. Normal. There we go. Okay. So first things first, we want to get this in here as well. Oh. Oh. Helps if I select the right thing for this. There we go. Okay. All right, and now in texture 2, I was going to be very interested to see whether this is going to be positioned correct enough. Now it's going to be mostly under our road if we place this right enough. I think if left to right we're good. I think for height-wise we were wrong. But hopefully it'll be under the road, hidden. Okay, so now we have our red for our sand and our green for our pebbles. Actually, before we do anything more, let's go and do a little bit of green here. And now a little bit of red. I want to make a Venn diagram out of this. And a little bit of blue. There we go. I just want to put that in. We're going to erase that later, but that's just going to be a sample. So override our splat map. There we go. All right. So first things first. Okay, our pebbles are not completely where we want, but close enough, so we need to fill that in a little bit wider. Let's do that first. Boom. Yeah, we definitely need to have our track background a little bit more precise so that we can see much better where we're drawing. Or I just need to make sure that we can actually draw inside of Godot itself like I did with my terrain editor. Let's go and export that first. Yes. Okay. Ooh, something went wrong there. Oh, haha. Maybe I need to do that first. There we go. So now we nicely have pebbles in there. Let's see if we have overdraw somewhere. Oh, they're nicely contained within. That's pretty cool. So we no longer have grass over there. We have some nice pebbles. Now we see this white here because we don't have a texture set up yet, but we can see how it mixes all the different things there. Let's actually go back into... Oh yeah, that makes us move faster. Much better at ASDF. So here we can see how it mixes all those different things together. We can see that we have a nice transition between the pebbles and the sand. We got a nice transition to our underlying color, and we have a nice transition to white because we don't have a texture for that yet. So let's find a nice idea for this. Just list them all and see if we can see something that we want to use. Oh, trees. What's that? Oh, moss. Okay. Excuse me. So yeah, something that I'm really thinking about is probably something like this. Maybe. Maybe more like a dirt thing. I just want to color the things that are in the background a bit more different. That's something that would really work for that. I don't have any dropouts in the stream tonight. That's pretty good. Let's try this one. Why not? Oh, that only comes in a 2K version. That's interesting. Okay. 026. There we go. Which means it needs to import that stuff. Okay. So that was rocks 026. Color. Normal. There we go. I'm not quite sure if I like that one, but I'm going to be using that far away in the background to kind of do all that. So something that I really want to do right now is go over here. Don't need you. No. I want to open up our heightmap PNG. Copy that. And paste that in a separate layer here. So now we can see a little bit better how this goes. Now we can also see how that all fits together. So yeah, let's go and erase this and this and this. And now I want to make sure that that doesn't hit our hill. I'm happy for our hill to stay the way that it is, but I want to go and color this all. Oops. No, now of course I do need to pick that one. Much bigger. I want to go and color this all blue, so that far away in our distance, our mountains are gonna be all rocky. I have no idea if this is going to be nice or if we need to change the texture that we're using here. We will find out soon enough. Okay. Good enough. Export. Save. Yes. Okay. There we go. So, again, I don't care much about precision because we won't be able to see any of that anyway. It's just that in the background, our mountains are now a slightly different color. So let's go and hop into the car and see how that actually looks in game. All right. So first of all, here are all our pebbles. Now that really looks pretty cool. I really like how the pebbles worked out. that's pretty neat. We probably need to do some UV scaling so that we can do different offsets on the different types, but that's going to be easy to change. So we can see our sand. Now our sand is still a bit on the hill, so obviously we still don't have that perfect. But now we have sand on the inside of our corners, which is pretty cool. We now have our view being blocked by our hill in the middle. So obviously I want to put some buildings there or something like that, and probably an inner wall, so that we don't actually reach the inside there. But yeah. That does look pretty cool. Oops. Don't hit the walls. And I kind of like that the white hills in the background kind of make things stand out a little less. Now, I do think that we need to make some small variations in the ground here, instead of that all being really, really flat. Okay. Let's bring this guy in again. I don't want to do that over here. No, I want to do that with the height map. Hold on. We need to get to our height map for this. So here, what we're simply going to do is we're going to take a really small color and just add a little bit of elevation around here. Okay, it's... Oh, did I just draw that in here? That's not good. Draw it in the wrong map. That's not good. Okay, let's try that again. They want you again. Let's actually go and do something like this. Go back to here. How do we make it additive? I think that is what we get right now. This is really where just a bit of randomness would be good. They're only worried that this is going to be way too high. No, not raisins, FX. Again, it's just to create some unevenness in the ground, not make it so super flat. Let's hope that we didn't hit the racetrack with that. Export, height map, save, yes. Okay, let's see if we didn't make that any worse. So yeah, we've got a little bit of unevenness here now. But not too much to bury our trees. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm still not sure about whether I'm going to keep using that texture. I might use something different so that we can color this a bit more, or maybe make the forest floor a somewhat different color. That might actually be a better idea, is to actually use that for that. I think I actually like that idea better. So I might actually go in here and just, whoa. Why can I not see what I'm doing? Oh, what? Here we go. Just gonna get rid of all this blue. And instead, use this to kind of paint a forest. Oops. It doesn't really matter that's too much overshoot, because we're never going to get out there with our car anyway to see that kind of detail. There we go. Let's go and export that as a splat map. And now go back here. So I don't actually want to use rocks. I want to have like a forest floor. What will be good for that? Dirt. I think something like this. Come on. Boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. Save that. Oops. Yeah, please. Go. And now we're going to change our texture 3 to become that new ground that we just had. Where are we? Ground, no, 41. Color. Oops, no. There we go. Alrighty. So you can see how that looks in game. Yeah, I think Godot is perfect for architectural visualization. You just need to have the models loaded in. And especially with the VR capability that Godot has, you can very quickly set up something that you can walk around a building. You just need to have the models. That's the trick, having the models in the right format that you can import them. Well, I like the idea that the I think we probably need to make the height map slightly higher around the trees. Let's go one more time into here and into here. Now, like this. Why can I not see my circle? Here we go. Now I can. right. Well, made it slightly higher, but well, when you're kind of flying around the forest, it kind of makes sense that we have leaves here instead of anything else. There's a little bit of sand coming on that side of the road, but I'm not too worried about that. First of all, it is hidden by the fence, but second of all, kind of makes sense to have sand on all sides over there. But yeah. I think as a principle, this works pretty neatly. And that is, in essence, how we very quickly put a height map together and a splat map together. Well, there is a smooth transition now already, as you can see, because of the way that the splat map works. Because we're mixing a gradient in colors, which is really the nice way that for these sort of things to work. Now, there are tricks to do this even better. But yeah, you can see that it's a smooth transition. So yeah, one of the tricks that I've seen that was very nice is to use a depth map to especially for instance with the transition from pebbles to sand. It wouldn't be a hard transition, but you would sort of see the sand appear in the low parts of the pebbles, and then the high part of the pebbles is still blending more of the pebbles, which is kind of cool. But the thing that I'm most concerned about right now is just the transition here not being smooth enough. Which I find a little interesting that it's doing that. But hey, for something we put together in a quick 2 hours, I'm pretty happy with how this works. I do want to get rid of that a little bit, so I'm going to go back into our splat map, and then in here, and then erasers, this one, maybe a little bit smaller, just cut this back a little more. There we go. Now the same thing here. There we go. And maybe what might be nice, although I don't think you will see it. No, I don't really care about that right now. Okay. All right. Yeah, that definitely looks a lot better. Wanna... Yeah, let's see how that looks. So again, this is really something that you want to do in the editor, and I probably could put something quick together that we can actually edit the splat map in Godot itself. Interesting. How did I... That's this one. Yeah. Why does that not have a bigger border? I think for that. Anyway. You know, I can tweak the splat map for hours and hours and hours just to, you know, get this to line up properly and stuff like that. And again, I think one of the things that I really should do is get a proper image made from the track itself. Or, you know, like I said, create something that we actually can draw the splat map inside of here, which is possible. You know, we can turn that into a viewport and then draw into the viewport. Yeah, I wonder, was I changing the right side, or is it this side that is... This side that is wrong. Yeah, maybe. Let's cut this thing off. Okay, that was this side. Okay. Okay. So... Okay. Oops. All right. Okay. It's a bit annoying that we're actually fixing this part. Actually, we're looking at it like this. You can see that this is actually a bit too big. actually go. Oops, that's a bit too big. And get a little bit wider. And then with this one, get out a little bit more. Okay. So that's made it a bit better. I think I really want that point to be there. We go. I think that'll do good. Now let's have a look at this. So here we can see that this is going too far, so we need to actually go and bring that back in a little bit. Here, I want this to be a bit sharper, and then actually bring that back a little. Oops. Okay, so we might end up, even though it's a 16-bit PNG, we might actually have an 8-bit image, which would indeed explain why we're having such precision issues with our height map. It's a bit of a shame. All right, but I like how this one goes now. Oh, I screwed that up, didn't I? So we need to fix that up. Okay. Good that we saw that. So let's do that first. Go back to our height map. Okay. Now. Okay. So this is the left up corner, because we now know that it is the right way around. So, okay. Like, no. Oh, that's the hill. That wasn't quite what I had in mind. This needs to be. Okay. See if that works. There we go. Fix that. That's good enough. There we go. I think the sand on that right side we could make a little wider. Okay, so we're still there. There. Okay. Yeah, I think I like that. This one we need to make a little smoother. There we go. Oh. Helps if I choose the right option. Alrighty. Okay. Now, if we only have 8 bits resolution on our height map, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the image style here. Can I do that? Properties, image color space. So we're going to bring this down to 8. Okay. So we now know that that's 8. Perfect. That also means that, oh, let's go and export that out. Export heightmap PNG. Yes. Okay. Boom. And that means that we're actually going to make this 10. Everything is a lot lower now. Oops. And we're just going to go and get a little bit more aggressive with the colors. God, I hate this. There we go. Yeah. All right. Not FX. Just blur this out a bit. I don't like how much that blurred. All right. Let's see how that changes. Still pretty blocky though. See what it makes of that. Okay. This guy. Bit bigger, please. Okay. This one again, bigger. No, I'll stay inside of this line. Okay, I'm gonna need to erase that edge a bit. Nope, what? On a razor. Oh, because this one just needs to be paint black. Right. So one of the other ways that we can do a height map, but for that, and that's kind of what I did with the height map or the terrain painter that I built about a year or two ago, is that we use the full RGB channels to create the gradients, and then you add the RG and B together, and you basically encode the height that way. That way you can get much more precision in how the heights are calculated, so that you don't get this really rough edging. We need to create a little bit more space there. I think it's this side. All right. Okay. Perfect. All right. So now, let's go all the way white. Get our pen. Nice big one. And we're going to raise this all up. And I'm actually going to color that all the way to the edge. A bit more pronounced. And then we'll blur the hell out of that. There we go. All right. Okay. That'll do. Yeah, so I'm not really happy with how the height map turned out. So I think I need to improve on that. So the idea there is, but for that, we can't draw the height map in Krita. We'll need to do that somewhere else. Or generate it or something. Where are we? Where's my shader code? Here we go. But what you basically end up doing is something like plus height val dot g plus height val dot b, but then you would add a factor to each one of them. So let's say this times 256 and this one times 65536. Obviously this is going to go completely crazy, but that way you can encode much more precision, and obviously that would be, you know, divided by something to bring it back into a normal value. But because we're using a black and white image right now, and because we're just drawing it in an image drawing package, we don't really get that precision. Now, the other thing that we actually need to have a look at, which might be causing us grief, is we might want to have that as lossless. Well, that cleared it up quite a bit. Let's make it all a bit higher. Oops. So because we had video RAM selected, which applies, you know, just to save memory, it applies a loss, not a lossless, like a JPEG type of compression. So that creates a whole bunch of artifacting. And simply changing it to lossless so that we get it as a raw image without any. And it also means we actually want to disable RGB on this as well, because that screws things up. But all of a sudden our whole problem has disappeared. All that work. Yeah. Ronnie, you're right. Lossless. Exactly. Have I got uncompressed on? I think so. Yeah, because it's on lossless. That was dumb. I should have known that because I've ran into that problem before. Okay, I want to make sure that this actually is nicer too, because it doesn't make any sense. I have to fill this up. Because having this go down doesn't make any sense. Again, we'll blur it out to smooth it out in a minute. Okay, oops. FX, blur. Make that a bit bigger. Oh. I went to brought it in too close to the track, which I don't want. There you go. Okie doke. All right, lesson learned. I think we probably want to do that for our splat map as well. It's less important here, but I do think we want to have this disabled. We want to have this disabled because it's not for color stuff. And we want to have that on lossless. And again, I don't think that for the splat map it matters. Okay, let's just check if our road has got any issues anywhere. Again, now that it's smooth, I might actually turn it back up. Because I really want the thing in the back to be higher, which does mean that I think our center mount should be made darker again. Because again, we had done that. So do we have like a darken effect here? That's lighten. I need something to darken it. Well, obviously one of the things that we could quickly do go over it like this. And let's make it a bit smaller. And then we go back to FX. Let's go blur it down a bit. All right, there we go. Oh, and we hit the track a little bit again. Okay. All right. That's a bit more of a respectable little mountain in the middle, or hill, or whatever we want to call it. I think I want to bit more here. Okay, that was a bit bigger than I thought. It's easy to get that wrong. It's really easy to get that wrong. Okay. There we go. File, export, save. Yes. Okay, so we need to make it smaller on that side. Okay, that's fine. I was afraid of that. Oh. Okay. Now our pits are in good shape again. So yeah, that kind of looks cool. Oh, but we still have everything raised too much. Okay. And I think that is because I'm not actually painting with exact black. So I need to do that properly like this. A bit smaller. Make absolutely sure, oops, that this black really is black where it needs to be black. Because obviously our track needs to be flat with the ground. Not black enough. Hmm. Do I have like a way to see that as RGB? No. How do we make absolutely sure that we have the blackest of black? That's correct. That's a big question. No. Ah! I removed my color selector altogether. That was not what I had in mind. How do I get that back? Toolbar show? No. Docs. Here we go. There we go. It's back. Okay, can I get that back on my... Hello? How do I get that back? Okay, perfect. Alright. Yeah, I was looking for the smear tool. This is the downside of not being a super CREDA expert by any stretch of the imagination. Alright, so we fixed that, but we still have a problem here near the pits. No, not that one. Didn't really want to make that Transparent black. Oh, that's not going to work. Okay. There we go. That now is as flat as it should be. Oh. Alright, let's see if we can find any more issues. Okay. I am really happy with that. Ooh. Flying maybe a little bit too fast. Okay, so yeah, some of our trees are are on the ground now. So we might need to make that a little less aggressive. Not too worried about those. Okay. Let's go have a look. Alright. Why am I not? There we go. Just. Oops. Go and darken this up a little bit. Okay. Just mix this in. Yeah. Careful that I don't get too close to the track again. Should probably set some of these brushes up as favorites. Okay, let's go to absolute black. Okay. Okay, it doesn't look like we screwed up the track now. Still a couple of trees at the back that are in the hills. I think we can just adjust the tree line itself a little bit. Because I think I was a little bit too aggressive with the way that I changed the trees. So, was it this one? Nope. The other one. There we go. Yep. Let's go back to 50, which, no, I think that's a bit too little. And more or less like that, so that we've got a bit of overlap. So 75, 150. 100 trees in this one. Yes. Yeah, so we should really lower that a bit. Maybe that's just because... No, I'm going to go smooth that it a little bit more. Like so. Maybe so. Let's not think to darken things with that. So I do have a lighten thing, but I don't have a darken. That's so weird. Okay, I might now be really screwing this up. Oh, look at that. So I'm actually increasing the size of that. So we're actually still in the tree line here. Okay. I think that means that I can go and be a little bit more aggressive in my blur here. I want to get more black in it, I think. Hmm. Just getting more white. All right, see how that looks like in game. And then I think we're gonna go call it a night. Yo. Yeah, pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, you know, we can play for hours and hours to try and make this height map nicer and get things in the right position and stuff. But I think for what it needs to do, blocking off the view in the background, making sure that, you know, it doesn't look like we've got an endless flat horizon. This is pretty much doing what it should be doing. And I'm pretty happy because, you know, we got the big map mountains in the background anyway. So yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with what this does. Here we've got some sandbanks on our track. Now, obviously, I'm probably just going to put invisible walls around this hill so that we can't, you know, drive off the track there. I do think there's a lot more dressing that we can do on this track. We probably want to have like a box somewhere here where, you know, you would have the race officials or something like that. But again, you know, it's just a test track. I might eventually remove some more of this hill to create, I don't know, like a skid pad or, you know, like a parking lot somewhere. I'm thinking about putting a bridge somewhere over it, like, you know, just to simulate that there's a way into the track. Because right now, obviously, our fence is going all the way around. So how do you ever get people to be on the inside of the track? So we'd need, like, you know, a little bridge over the track somewhere, which is somehow connected to a road behind here, maybe. So that would probably be a nice one. Or maybe, you know, we just have something going to the other side. I'm not sure. Really, the sky's the limit with that sort of stuff. And it's just, you know, it's just really just window dressing to make the track a little bit more appealing. But I think as, you know, something that's workable, something that's already, you know, a good test track to further build the capabilities of our car. This is a nice little place where we can run around and that's visually appealing. So yeah, pretty happy with the end results. Never played the Fast and the Furious game, so I have no idea. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to leave the ad hoc stream tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed us playing around with, well, creating a little height map, splat map based terrain thingy. Now obviously this is editing-wise not ideal. If you want to do something like this, you know, I do everything, you know, I basically make my life a little bit harder by doing everything myself because I just want to demonstrate the techniques and the ideas behind this. But if you want to use this, something like this in production, do yourself a big favor and check out Xylan's GitHub page. Do I have him here? Possibly. Oh, that's already where it was. And check out his Godot heightmap plugin. So this plugin does everything that I've done here, but with the difference that it does it inside of the editor. So obviously, if you're just interested in having something that works, go and check out this plugin. It saves you heaps of time. But if you want to, you know, muck about the way that I just did, build your own splat map shader and go and create images in your favorite image editor, then this is how you put something like this together. Now, obviously, for something like this, you would make a better capture of the terrain with the track on it to use as a background so that you can actually color in properly. You know, there's a lot of guessing right now where the track is and where our hills should end and where our splat map should be. You know, we got pretty lucky with the pebbles that it didn't sort of, you know, get into parts where it shouldn't be. But all in all, you know, it's something, you know, it's something that you can do in an hour or two and throw it together. And once you've got the shader, then obviously, yeah, that'll all be there. Now, this is going to be all part of my part 6 of the tutorial series. I'm not going to go through this in part 6. The part 6 that I'm planning to do is all about or I've actually recorded most of it already. I just want to use this to record the intro with. That's all about changing gears, so the stuff that we handled a little while ago. Once I get around to checking that in, then obviously that'll check in all these changes, and you can actually have a look at the code and use it for your own purposes or your own game if you want to. Not sure if I'll ever do a proper tutorial on this because so much has already been done on this subject. But anybody who wants to know how to do this can always review the capture of this session. Terrain is spherical. Yeah, spherical is a pain in the butt. It's possible. Obviously, the thing is, when you look at the code that we have over here, where's my... I keep closing it. So I've got my height calculation here, and all that does, it looks up inside of a texture map, it looks up the height, and then we just add the height to our vertex. The difference when you are doing this on a spherical is that you don't just add the height to the Y, but basically what you do is vertex plus normal times your height, right? So you want to extend the height of your terrain in the direction of the normal of your sphere. But that's only half the problem, right? The biggest problem that you have is that UV mapping on a sphere is horrible. So yeah, yeah, you could do it for scaling as well. That's another way to do it. But yeah, it is a pain in the butt. Once you have that calculation where you can calculate what the proper position is, then a tangent by normal and normal calculation stays relatively the same as what you have. It's just that that height function doesn't result in a height. It results actually in a new vertex position, and you can just you can calculate your tangent and binormal that way, and then your normal still becomes your cross plot product. But it is a pain in the butt. It really is. So yeah, David, I do not envy you. But I hope there's still some things in this code that might help you out. Although, if I do recall, I think you're a lot further along already, so that should all be good. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this ad hoc stream. Should be back on Friday for our normal time. Yeah, thanks again for joining, and see you guys next time.